for everyone listening, that you try and be true to yourself and be honest with yourself. Me being true to me is about my passion for sustainability and trying to leave a better world. The other part of me is the love of hospitality and wanting to make people feel better, feel happier, and that's the healthy hospital, you know.
So, cheers! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a new episode of Hospitality Secrets Podcast. Paul Sfirlia here, and today we are at the third episode of the second season of Hospitality Secrets Podcast, the second season where we talk more with other persons from the hospitality industry. We talk with, I like to invite persons who inspires me. He inspired me a lot, who I like to ask a few questions to squeeze some nice information that can help everybody during these crazy times that are happening. And I'm super excited today to announce one of the good friends of mine. His name is Tim Judge, and what I liked about Tim first time when I met him a few years ago, I remember that it was after me winning world class in Romania. I have to deliver the trainings that I was telling in previous episodes. So at some point, he was the global brand ambassador for Bullet, and he came to Romania, and we were delivering a few trainings together, and those trainings were. One of those trainings was one of the most funniest training that I ever delivered, and I liked the team because he really inspired me to deliver fun and different presentations. And I remember same time when I told in those trainings, he delivered one of the presentations in Bucharest standing on a chair. So for me it was very new, it was very strange. I was looking at him, what is he doing? He was standing on the chair and delivering a presentation. He always delivered a bit different presentations, and he liked to do things differently. So Tim, thank you for this. I want to welcome you to the third episode of Hospitality Secrets.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored and humbled, and I completely forgot about that chair.
I didn't.
By the way, how's your mom?
She's good. She had coronavirus a few weeks ago, and now now she's good.
She's much better.
Yeah, it's much better. It wasn't so bad for her, and she's still saying hello. She asks about you because after plenty of jokes, of mom jokes at my wedding, when you came, you managed to meet my mother.
Yes, I did. It was a highly embarrassing and awkward moment. And she was filled with grace and humor, and she's a truly lovely lady. But those trainings, you were so right. Those trainings were so much fun.
Yeah.
Some of the favorite ones that I've done were with you.
So I just wanted to tell that those trainings inspired me to start thinking in delivering different ways, adding lots of jokes, sense of humor to the trainings, because I saw how important it is. Mm-hmm. So you were a true inspiration for me. Thank you very much for this.
Oh, thank you. It was always fun with you.
Tim, where are you now?
I am in a shed at the bottom of my garden. So at the start of the lockdowns in kind of April. So I had coronavirus all the way back in March, right at the beginning, and I had it pretty bad when I was living in Amsterdam. So when I recovered, I decided that I would come back home to where I grew up. So it's down in the southwest of England, a little place called Cornwall, which is filled with golden sand and palm trees and surf. It's like a little mini California.
Nice. And why did you left that area?
To go and explore the world. It's like growing up here, it's very rural. And I got itchy feet, and I wanted to go and travel the world. I wanted to come to Romania, and I wanted to visit New Zealand, and I wanted to go to America and Brazil.
To India, I remember that you stepped also to India. And so you visit like a big part of the world, no?
63 countries.
How many?
So 3 countries.
Ooh. You walker. Quite a few. Nice.
I've been very lucky. the hospitality industry has allowed me to go and see so much of the world and meet so many amazing people and experience so many different cultures.
Nice, nice. So that's why I want to ask you a few questions to see from what you learn from this industry. But first, I would like to start with the first question. I always ask around 7 questions. Let's see if I manage to ask all those questions. If not, I'm more than happy to just chat with you to learn some
Yeah,
new
let's
things.
go.
First question would be, what projects are you working in this period? What are you working on?
Apart from your mum.
Yeah, accept.
So I have to get the mum jokes in.
Yeah, it's allowed. It's allowed. So
it's like an old habit. So I've got like a list of kind of 4 big projects that are going on right now for me.
oh, so you're not in holidays.
So there's Healthy Hospo,
Mhm.
all about. So obviously with the global shutdown of the hospitality industry and everything that people have been going through this year, the work that we do at Healthy Hospo to try and build a healthier, happier industry has never been so important. So we've been really busy with Healthy Hospo this year, trying to figure out how we can still help the industry when we can't see the industry. Now, traditionally, we've just done lots of in-person trainings, but obviously we can't do that at the moment. So we've taken all of our training material and converted it into a digital format and built a web app.
Nice.
Anyone, anywhere in the world can access all of our training at Healthy Hospo just through their phone or through their laptop.
And what's the name of the app?
So it's Healthy Hospo. So it's
Healthy
not
Hospo.
on the web app store. It's not on Google Play Store. It's accessible through the Healthy Hospo website. So healthyhospo.com. We did that because if we had put it into like a traditional app, A, it would have been 3 times more expensive to build. We don't have a lot of money. And B, we would have to charge people more for it. So every time someone used it, we would have to give Apple a little bit of money or Google a little bit of money. And we wanted to make the app as low cost as possible so everybody could have access to it, whether you're in a high flying bartender in New York or you work in a bar in Delhi.
Super nice. So you moved online with the whole.
So we launched that last month. So that's ongoing. Have my Calvados brand, so Avalon. So continuing our mission to be the world's most sustainable spirits brand.
And I think that sustainability it's a big word that we need to be very aware in this period, because we kind of forgot about sustainability with all those masks, gloves, and all the things that is happening. People are more scared about the invisible thing than the actually sustaining the planet.
Yeah, it's a giant monster that's looming up on us very, very slowly. But there are lots of good things that have happened this year in the sustainability world. Carbon dioxide emissions are down 7%. Air pollution is down. Biodiversity is returning to areas where it hasn't been for years. So there are positives. But with Avalon, we're trying to kind of change the direction of the drinks industry, because people are increasingly thinking or making decisions about the food they eat, for example, based on sustainability. So a lot less people eating meat for environmental reasons. People eating organic.
So about this, about you were saying about eating meat. Since we met like many years ago, I don't eat meat. So you also influenced that way back a few years ago, and I kept it because for my life, for my body, I function much better.
Yeah, same. It's been 22 years now for me. I would never go back. But one thing most people don't realize is the environmental, or they don't make choices on the environmental impact of what we drink. We choose what we drink based on flavor and price generally, and also the influence from our friends. But in a study in Japan, it showed that alcohol consumption was a major contributor to carbon dioxide emissions, much more so than food. So with Avalon,
I didn't knew it.
it was a study in Japan that not many people think. So we're trying to create a brand that has a positive impact on the planet. So we looked at 4 metrics of carbon dioxide emissions, biodiversity loss, water usage, and pesticide and fertilizer use, and tried to make a brand that overall, across all 4 of those, has a positive impact on the planet. So the planet is in a better place every time you buy a bottle of Avalon.
Nice. And in how many countries we can find?
We're currently in the UK, Ireland, Netherlands, Denmark, Spain, Australia, and Hong Kong. We'll be in France next year, hopefully in another couple of markets as well.
So next year we don't hope yet to find it in Romania or in smaller markets. Maybe just Amazon.
It is on Amazon. We don't do anything on Amazon. We've taken a conscious decision because of their awful sustainability, and we also want to support smaller businesses. So we like to work with specialist retail rather than Amazon. Jeff Bezos doesn't need any more money.
Yeah, he's already rich.
Let's spread the wealth around a little bit and support some better e-commerce platforms. So there's that. I recently also launched my own e-commerce platform, working with my brother. So it's called Lasso.
Lasso.
Yeah, Lasso, Lassou. And it's an e-commerce platform that's all about selling independently owned small drinks brands. So no brands from the likes of Diageo, Pernod Ricard, or William Grant, or Bacardi. It's all independent brands.
Nice.
And then I'm also at the very early stages of building a house. So.
Nice. So you're building. You are actually putting effort to physically build your house.
So at the moment, talking, engaging with an architect and solicitors around planning permission. The goal of kicking off in spring next year, the actual build.
Super nice, super nice. So you are very busy.
Well, there's not much else to do at the moment, is there? Can't go out.
Indeed, except making podcasts and.
Yes.
Thank you.
Podcast yet.
Yeah, thank you for accepting the podcast, having in mind how many things you're doing.
It's a pleasure. So yeah, it's always nice to speak to you.
To catch up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So you are doing plenty of things, but can you tell us a little bit what you did before? What's your history? A bit of your backstory in hospitality industry. We don't. If we could stay like 3 months to talk about your history, but like shortly.
When this podcast is over, lockdown will be finished.
Yeah. And we are at 25 years old of whole team.
So growing up where I am now, so growing up in Cornwall, it's a very tourist-driven region because it's surrounded by the ocean and beautiful beaches. So when you grow up down here, in the summer, everyone works in hospitality. There's loads and loads of jobs. So you just get a job kind of cleaning tables or collecting glasses or something simple like that. So I started there. My dad also worked in hospitality. So he had a little coffee shop. So when I was 14, I started working for him. Some say that was child labor, but we'll let my father off. And then just kind of a variety of hospitality jobs, from flipping burgers to collecting glasses in a pub, to kind of assisting in a kitchen. And eventually tried to escape, went to work with special needs children in an amazing school for a couple of years, which was fantastic. But hospitality kept drawing me back. So every time I would try and escape, it would pull me back.
It's addictive.
And eventually I found myself managing a really beautiful venue in a little town called Falmouth. It was right on the beach. And one year we decided to do some cocktails in the venue as an innovation. And I just fell in love with making drinks. I fell in love with the stories behind the cocktails and the history and then the crafting of them. And it was a really nice break from kind of managing and then sometimes just jumping behind the bar and talking to the guests and being able to make some drinks for people. It was really fun. And then my mum, that was in 2005. And then my mum passed away suddenly that Christmas. And that was the real big change in my life. So with my mum passing, I always say it was her final gift to me was to the freedom to go and travel. So I was very close to my mum, and before I never wanted to be kind of too far away or away for too long. But when she passed, it was a very easy decision to go and explore the world. So I bought a one-way plane ticket to New Zealand with the goal of becoming a cocktail bartender. Like I'd really enjoyed doing it, so I was like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to try and get a job as just making cocktails. And that landed me in New Zealand, and that's where kind of my bartending career started. You could say started in a casino, in a kind of nightclub style bar in the middle of a casino, which we would do hundreds of drinks each every night, hundreds and hundreds. It was 3 deep at the bar for about 5 hours.
Wow.
So it was just an amazing time, but really, really hard work. But what that taught me was a really good work ethic, and also how to work fast, and how to be able to make drinks whilst talking to people, rather than I'm making a drink and that's the only thing I can focus on. It's like I can drink and entertain the guests at the same time.
I think this is a crucial thing that bartenders should learn, how to make drinks and still entertain the guests and talk with them, because usually what happens, and I see it all the time, when a bartender starts to make a drink or a martini or something, they are like and completely ignore, which is hurtful for me, because I like always, because I think that the purpose of bartending or everything we do, it's entertaining and engaging the guests.
Absolutely, you're exactly right there. So it's it's going back to the essence of hospitality, or the question of what is hospitality, and
exactly,
not the drink that you make, it's how you make people feel. So you have to be able to make drinks whilst making people feel good, making people happy, or giving people the feeling that they're looking for, because some people come into the bar and they just want to drown their sorrows. They don't really want to engage in conversation. They just want to drink because they've had a bad day. Other people want to flirt with you. Other people want to joke with you. Other people want to engage you in a deep political conversation. And you've got to be able to do all of this whilst making the drinks. Making the drink is not the hospitality. That's not your job. It's just something you do. Your job is to give people the feelings that they're looking for.
Nice. After New Zealand?
So I did New Zealand for 4 years. That's where I kind of got involved in cocktail competitions. So represented New Zealand at the greatest cocktail competition the world has ever seen, which is the 42 Below Cocktail World Cup. Just a truly, truly amazing competition where you'd have to make a cosmopolitan whilst doing a bungee jump. They flew you to the top of a mountain in a helicopter and dropped you off on top of the ice and the snow, and then you had like a mystery box challenge. They put you in these crazy boats that spin 360 degrees down a river, and you had to try and make cocktails whilst in the boat. It was crazy.
Next level of bartending.
And it was just so much fun, and the community that was built there was just, and everyone that ever was part of that competition would return in a heartbeat to do it again. It was so good. But then a really big change in my life, and a really big change in kind of the way I view hospitality, was I moved from New Zealand to India. I got the opportunity to work at one of the world's great hotels, which is the Taj Mahal Palace in Mumbai.
Oh, you worked there at the Taj Mahal? Oh, nice.
And the reason I went there was that living in New Zealand in 2008, I'd watched the global news of the terrorist attacks in Mumbai. and watched as the Pakistani terrorists had held the city hostage, essentially. And at the hotel was the kind of the center of the raid. And hearing the stories about how the staff in the hotel had risked their lives to save the guests in the hotel.
Oh, that's hospitality.
And over 30 of them had died.
Wow.
Yeah, and for me, seeing I'm thinking that hospitality is giving everybody a glass of water and a napkin when they arrive at the bar. And here's people in India who are earning £50 a month, or like €50 a month, and they're jumping in front of bullets to save their guests. I'm like, I'm just playing around at the side. I want to go and meet these people, and I want to learn hospitality from them.
That's true hospitality. I mean, in a real world, our guest is our god, or how it's that saying in Hindi.
Yeah, exactly. It's the guest is king, you know how they say in Indonesia. And so I left the beautiful tranquility and the calm and the greenness of New Zealand and landed in Mumbai, at the noisiest place I've ever been in my life, and the smelliest place I've ever been in my life, and the dirtiest place I've ever been in my life. I went, can I go back?
I changed my mind.
But it was an amazing experience. I spent 3 years in India, traveling the country, meeting some of the most amazing people, and learning hospitality from Indians. And for me, their form of hospitality is true hospitality because it comes from the heart. You know, it's not about the food or the drink. It's about making sure people are happy and have what they need and feel comfortable and feel safe.
Nice. India, it's on my bucket list.
Oh, it's the most insane, amazing, incredible, infuriating, mesmerizing, difficult place you'll ever go.
Sounds great. Sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, for me, I like places that are memorable and extreme. You know, that trigger a response. Like there are lots of places I've been which are so bland and so comfortable and easy that they're just forgettable. But in India, you have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows and big challenges and constant barrage on the senses. But it means that it's always an experience.
And memorable and remarkable, memorable experience. Yeah.
Exactly. It's incredible place.
So after India,
so after India, 3 years in India, and then for 2 of those years in India, I was working with Diageo as the first reserve brand ambassador for India. Then I jumped over from the subcontinent.
And you helped hosting the world class in India that year, no?
Yeah, my first day at Diageo was them sitting me down and telling me that I'd be the host brand ambassador for world class. And I had 6 months. I had 6 months to plan and execute the first world class in India.
Wow.
And then host the global finals. So it was an insane 6 months.
But you managed to do it.
We just about got it. It was one of my favorite world classes because it was probably with the exception of the boat, it was the most difficult one. You know, everything was a challenge, everything was difficult, but we managed it, and everyone had an amazing time. And I have lots and lots of friends still from that world class. And then I left India and joined Diageo Africa team, so became the reserve ambassador for Sub-Saharan Africa, which again was an amazing experience to travel all across the African continent, which is just incredible, and experience a whole different type of hospitality, where it's much more about show and bling. You know, from Nigeria to Kenya to Botswana and Uganda.
So, and where you were living?
I was living in London. So I relocated to, it was the first time I'd ever lived in London, actually. I was living in London, being all cool and trendy in Bethnal Green. And then from the Africa job, promoted to the global ambassador for Bullet, which is when we met. and did that for a few years, and then it all came crashing down in 2016. I think revolves into your next question.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. The next question, because I know where we're going. The next questions will be, what was the struggle that made you start the journey that you are on now with Avalon and Healthy Ospo and everything that you are doing? What was the hard thing that made you start the journey?
So I had that job, the global brand ambassador, right? And I was traveling the world. It was more than I'd ever traveled in my life. I was traveling maybe 250 days of the year.
Wow. I would like to talk here because most of the people will say that it's a dream job. It's the best job that you can have. But what's that? You are telling this at the struggle part.
So yeah, when you see a global ambassador, when they come into your bar or you meet them somewhere, you're seeing them for a very time. You're seeing them for the most fun part of what they do, and you see them for one night, and they have to do that every night or 5 nights a week. So there are lots of good sides to it. It took me to 60 countries. I got to meet amazing people like yourself, have amazing experiences, get up to some crazy stuff, and make some real treasured memories and friends. But when you're not kind of unsure, what people don't see these global ambassador roles is the complete lack of sleep, because you're constantly jet lagged from traveling so much. Your sleep is just terrible, and when you're not sleeping properly, you don't feel good, right? Your brain starts to go, your body starts to go. Then when it comes to food, because you're traveling for 200 plus days of the year, it becomes difficult to eat well. Most of your food will come from restaurants, or maybe from room service, or snacks on the go, and it's not the healthiest food. The healthiest food is always food that we cook for ourselves. Exercise becomes a real difficult thing to do because you're so tired a lot of the time, and because you're traveling so much, it gets hard to get into a routine. And I personally am not the most self-motivated person when it comes to kind of like working out in a hotel room or going to a gym. For me, the exercise I like to do is to go outside. I want to combine being outside in nature with getting sweaty. And what was I talking about?
About the struggle of, and you are saying now about the brand ambassador shiny things, but people don't know about the struggle that's behind the role of.
I'm getting so old.
Yeah, I think this happens. We're getting old and then we die. So
yeah, and then there's the loneliness, right? You're traveling so much and you're seeing new people almost all of the time. So you're constantly having to make these like little micro friendships with people.
Superficial connections.
Yeah, and it's constant, and it takes a lot of energy, right? Because you can't really be yourself. Everyone, when you meet a global brand ambassador, you're expecting someone who is super happy, excited, smart, bubbly. When inside they're just exhausted, tired, lonely, and you can never be your true self. So you don't get all of the benefits of a small, close-knit circle of friends, which is what we really need as humans, right? We need really good friends that we see on a regular basis. So that happens, and then you've got a lot of drinking on top of that. You're constantly having to do market visits and go to bars, and you can't turn up and go, "Oh, sorry, I'm not really drinking tonight." And for some reason, bartenders always want to do shots with whiskey ambassadors. I know what you want. You want a shot of Bullet. And I was like, no, I don't.
But everybody gives me shots of Bullet. I had hundreds.
Oh, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. And then for some reason, like the habit that the bartenders have of giving you a shot as you leave. You're like, I don't understand this. Like, I'm leaving your venue. Are you trying to get me fucked up before I go to the next venue? Because if it was about hospitality, we would have a welcome drink. Or if it was
give me that shot when I come.
Or if it's one for the road, it's a drink I take away with me to enjoy on my journey to the next place. Not, it seems a bit messy, and I felt obliged to kind of say no. So always say yes rather. And I'd been doing this job for like 6 years, this constant travel and ambassador role, and I'll be the first to admit that I didn't manage it very well personally. There were lots of things that I could have done better to manage my situation. And it was in 2016 at the Athens Bar Show when it all kind of came crashing down and changed my life. So I'd had a really heavy, big year of travel and reached Athens, and some personal stuff had gone on in my life at the time as well. And a change of boss at work. So work was really bad. My personal life was really bad. It's just in a really, really awful situation. And that combined with my lifelong battle with depression. So I was first diagnosed with depression at the age of 16. All of that with the drinking on top. After my presentation to the bartenders at the bar show, I walked back to my hotel room and tried to commit suicide. And that was a real kind of turning point, as you can imagine, a turning point in my life. I got through that night and started to talk publicly about my struggles with my mental health and with the job and the industry. This industry of excess, this macho kind of.
Not many people did it, talking about the excesses, and you had some courage to step up and talk about your vulnerabilities and put your life out there.
I don't know if it was courage. It was. Well, I mean, initially, I think the thoughts going through my head were around trying to, like a survival, so trying to get some nice messages of love and support from people, because I was on my own in a hotel room in Athens and no one knew. That would make me feel better. If lots of people wrote nice things, then it might help me get through this phase. And that certainly happened. I got hundreds of messages and comments on the post. But what really changed my life was all of the messages I got in private from people telling me their stories of struggle and of mental health problems, physical health problems with the industry, with their drinking, from friends, from peers, from complete strangers, from other bartenders. And it really kind of set me thinking. It's like, if I now know that all of these people are struggling, and yet no one in the industry is doing anything about this. There was hardly any health awareness. Like Claire Warner was doing some stuff, which was great. Camille Vidal was doing a little bit, but there was no kind of concerted effort to try and help create a better industry. So I was just like, well, if I know there's this problem, what kind of man would I be if I just turned my back on the industry and I just turned my back on all of these people who are struggling and walk away? And I would just be an asshole, because I would have left them all without, knowing that they needed help. So it was an easy decision to try and do something about it. So I had 7 months of sick leave from Diageo, and that was the time to really help me think about what I was going to do and how I was going to move forward. And Healthy Hospo was born from there, out of a passion to help those that struggle in the industry with their health and help the industry become a healthier place for everyone to work.
So nice. So nice.
And that was really kind of it. And then to get onto the story of Avalon, so whilst kind of working on Healthy Hospo, my very, very good friend, I call her my sister, even though we're not related, Stephanie Jordan, who you know very well.
Yeah.
The global Tanqueray ambassador at the time. So she left Diageo at a similar time to me and set up her own very successful consultancy. But we kept in touch and we kept talking, and she was doing her consultancy, I was doing Healthy Hospo, but we both had a kind of burning passion to do a brand, because Stephanie spent all of her working career at Diageo up until then working on brands, and I'd spent kind of a good chunk of my career building.
You had the knowledge. You had the knowledge.
We had some knowledge. We had a little bit, probably a dangerous amount of knowledge, to thinking we knew enough to do it. to give us the confidence to do it. And then when we started realizing that we know nothing at all, but we sat down to, we had a lot of chats, and we wanted to do something that was a bit different. We'd seen lots of friends go off and start brands in categories because they liked that category, or they wanted to, or they saw that category was in growth, or there was an opportunity within that category. And we came at it from a very different angle. We wanted to have real purpose behind what we did. We said that, we don't just want to build a brand for the sake of having a brand. We've seen way too much of that. We want a brand that makes a real difference. It's not for us to be cool and show off to our mates that we've got an alcohol brand, or for us to get free drinks. It's to make a real difference. So we sat down, and my big passion is sustainability. So I grew up in the country. I constantly campaigned for sustainable issues. I haven't eaten meat in 22 years for environmental reasons. So for me, it was very important that if we're going to do a brand, sustainability had to be one of the core aspects to it. And for Stephanie, for her, it's about nature. She grew up in France, in Burgundy. And her father was a winemaker, so she grew up in a winery, in a vineyard. And so for her, like, terroir and nature is super important, and looking after the land, because that's her background and where she grew up. So we sat down, we were talking about this, and it's the idea we came up with. It was creating the world's most sustainable drinks brand, or spirits brand, rather. That was the goal and the mission that drove everything. So starting with that, the only thing we knew is that we weren't going to do a gin.
Why not a gin? Everybody's doing a gin.
That's right, because there's too much fucking gin in the world. There's a lot of good gin brands. There's a lot of bad gin brands. The world does not need any more gin brands.
For sure.
We said no gin. That's it. But let's try and find out. Well, let's try and create the world's most sustainable drinks brand, the spirits brand. So because we started with this blank sheet of paper, just with this one line on it, it meant we could go right back to the beginning of production. So we could go back and ask the question which no one else is asking, which is, from an environmental point of view, what is the best raw material to make alcohol from?
That's a good question.
Put aside flavor, and if you put aside cost and all those other things, just purely from a sustainability point of view, what is the best? So we looked at carbon dioxide emissions, we looked at biodiversity loss, we looked at water usage, and we looked at pesticides and fertilizers. And we looked at kind of cereal grains, and we looked at agave, and we looked at sugarcane, and we looked at fruits. And what we came up with is that apples, hands down, are the best raw material to make alcohol from.
Nice way of choosing the. I didn't thought about this, of choosing the main.
It was just a really simple question to ask, and it's about asking the right questions to get the answers. So then when we had apples, then it was like, well, that was easy because we know where the best apple brandy in the world comes from, and it all comes from Normandy in France. So it was obvious to us that we had to make a Calvados. And then, so we started investigating the category, and then you realize that no one is doing anything in Calvados. It's the world's most boring category. It's all old-fashioned producers with very dated products, and really marketing that's stuck in the kind of 90s. Yet incredible liquid in the bottle, and this underlying sustainability which covers the whole category. So there was an amazing opportunity to take Calvados and do something fresh and young and exciting with it.
And you did it. You invested a lot in the beginning of the Avalon.
All my money.
Everything.
Everything, man. All in. At the back of the casino, all in.
So yeah, like in the casino, all in on 13th red, like roulette.
All in on apples. So probably green or red, I don't mind. Yeah, we launched in June 2019. So we're about a year and a half old now.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the story of Healthy Hospo and Avalon.
Nice story, and that's some struggle, which a big journey. You need a struggle to start to a big journey.
I don't think you necessarily need a struggle. I don't believe that everyone needs to reach rock bottom like I did to be able to kind of bounce back up. But one thing that my journey has taught me, and I would like to pass on, uh, is the importance of being true to yourself. Because when I was working at the Agio, yes, I had a great job, and yes, it was fun, and at times, and it gave me amazing experiences. I was always impersonating. I was always an impersonator. I was never myself. I was never true. I would rock up. I'd wear suits and I would drink bourbon. And I would try and act this luxury way. And be all fancy. And then when I stopped having that job, I went back to who I was as a person. And I live in sportswear, trainers and hoodies and
You found yourself when you
oh, and I've also found two companies that really represent who I am as a person. And both Healthy Hospo and Avalon are the result of me being very true to myself. So I think that for everyone listening, there's one piece of advice I can give to everyone. It's really try and be true to yourself and be honest with yourself. For me being true to me is about my passion for sustainability and trying to leave a better world for your son and for the children of the future. And the other part of me is the love of hospitality and wanting to make people feel better, feel happier, and that's the healthy hospital. So both of them represent me, but different sides of me.
and just because you managed to be true to yourself, and that was super nice advice for the listeners. So stay true to yourself. If you and as I see it, of being true to yourself, I discover myself mostly when I was traveling alone.
Mm-hmm.
I traveled a lot alone, and I started going deeper and deeper into myself and ask myself to discover myself, to explore actually deeper, because when I'm with somebody it's hard to stay outside and talk and chat, but when I'm
Yeah,
alone I'm going deeper and deeper, and I try to discover myself, because to stay true to yourself first you have to discover yourself.
absolutely. Yeah, and traveling on your own is a great way to do that because you spend a huge amount of time alone.
Mm.
And you
Oh
be
yeah.
surrounded by people. The
Oh
art
yeah.
of life.
I have a the fourth question would be about if you have one or more persons, guide, teacher, mentor, tell whatever you want to tell it, that inspired you to learn something meaningful in the industry, and what you learn from them or from him or her.
Yeah, I thought about this, and there's lots. Everyone you meet teaches you something, and there are lots of people that really taught me a lot about hospitality and from my first job, as I remember, I worked in a little takeaway restaurant in a holiday village in a holiday camp, and there was this grumpy old woman called June who ran the place, um, and she was very very strict, but she taught me a lot. She taught me a lot about timekeeping and about hard work and cleanliness. And then there's people like Jamie Lawton who was kind of my first cocktail mentor, who took me under his wing, taught me all about the art of making cocktails and flavor. There's people like Jacob Briers, who's just a constant inspiration from day to day of how to be an amazing human being and to live life. But I think the people that taught me the most when it comes to hospitality are the bartenders that I met at the Taj Mahal Palace
Mm.
about earlier. Turning up there and meeting people who earn so little and have so little and are treated quite often with so little respect, work with such humility and such passion and such pure hospitality running through their hearts. Um, it was truly humbling to go and spend some time small amount of time working in their company.
So those bartenders, I will do some research on the Taj Mahal hotel to see a bit.
One of the most beautiful hotels you could ever imagine. The
Nice.
great thing about Indian hotels is they have a huge number of former royal palaces in India. And the Taj Hotel Group have converted a number of them into hotels. So the level of opulence, of like kind of old-fashioned historical opulence, is just on another level. And some of the places are just incredible.
Nice, nice. Super, super. Thank you very much. So these are the people who inspired you a lot during your journey in the hospitality industry. And I think every
Of course. Sorry, I should have.
oh, yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Smile.
The thing with the smile, yeah. Yeah. I liked it. I liked it. This was like a thing that I like to do. And actually, uh, I already told this in this podcast. The thing with the smile on my hand, it wasn't my idea. Actually, it was David Rio's idea. At the national finals, I had written, I don't know how to say, written something on my hand, and then when I was pouring, he was looking there because I had this strange pour. And he at the end he came to me and said, "Why do you don't write there smile judges or something?" And I said, "Ah, nice." And that
He's a
transformed
smart
in
boy, Mysterious.
signature. Yeah.
I remember it very well. It was one of the most memorable. It was one of the most memorable moments of that world class.
Woohoo!
You know, like I worked a lot of world classes, and there were always kind of like little moments from each one. Like I remember in Rio when Tim Phillips, who won overall, did his
resurrection flip.
resurrection flip and making the egg disappear, or making the kotak, and watching like Manabu Ataki's face when he first saw it. He just could not believe what Tim had done. Like, you know, and little moments like that.
I still have that video. I have that video on my laptop with Tim Phillips, and I'm showing that video to persons when I'm talking about the wow effect. That was a wow effect.
Yeah, and then people like Emil Ereng from Sweden, and on the boat when we did it in the Mediterranean, and it's like midnight. Everyone had started at 7 a.m. Everyone's exhausted. It'd been 40 degrees centigrade all day, super hot. You know, I'm having to mop down Salvatore Calabrese's brow with a tea towel, and he's like the last bartender on, and it's like a mystery box challenge, and he does this whole thing about, it's called Last Orders or something, and it's telling the story of a nightclub, and it's like, and 3 Americans come along, and that's like, and he pours some bullet, and here's Dale DeGroff on his own, and got Dale DeGroff spitters, and like just creating this amazing, hilarious story around this drink. And when everyone is watching and everyone is exhausted, just to finish the day with everybody laughing was just the perfect way to finish. And there's like little moments like that you remember.
That are memorable. Yeah. Yeah, this is what I'm very obsessed with memorable hospitality experiences. I think this is the main tagline of this podcast. How can we create memorable hospitality experiences? What's the secret sauce for those things?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the thing we should all be seeking every time every guest comes into our bar. We have an opportunity to create a memory for them. So how do we choose to create that memory for them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It could be a short lasting memory, or it could be a lifelong lasting memory.
Yeah, there were a few that are very memorable.
Exactly.
So regarding this, what are some big lessons that you learned from hospitality industry?
One is how to work hard. Hospitality is hard work, and you're on your feet all the time, you know, and you can't stop. So that is a real key one, and the ability to talk to people is really important. I was very shy as a child. You know, when I had hair, it was bright orange. And that is a kind of recipe for getting bullied when you're at school. So I had a mixed school experience. I enjoyed it for the main, but I did get bullied quite a bit, and I didn't have. So when I went to an all boys school at the start. So it was only at the end of the school that we had girls come in. So I was really shy around girls, not very confident. So hospitality really gave me a confidence to talk to people. It's funny how kind of having 3 feet of bar between you and somebody else, and having a job where you have to talk to them, you're forced to engage with someone, really can change everything. It's funny, like if I go out today and I go to a bar on my own, I'm still too shy to talk to a girl. But if I'm behind the bar and a girl comes in, no problem whatsoever. I will flirt like crazy.
Yeah, because it's the job that he's doing. Yeah. So this you learn how to socialize.
Yeah, I think so, and also how to talk to different people, which I think is a key skill that's undervalued in hospitality. I worked in enough venues now and had different clientele. Everyone from, like, we used to have people come into the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel because it was such an iconic, important building in India. They would travel across the country to come to Mumbai, and when they come to Mumbai, one of the buildings they had to visit was the hotel. I remember that you'd have like groups of men coming in, maybe like 4 or 5 men, and then they would order one Coke, because that's all they could afford. But for them, the experience of coming into the hotel was so important that they would travel halfway across the country. And me here, who am I to not serve them or to mock them or throw them out just because, security will come and go like, oh, they can't be in here. I'm like, these people have traveled from so far, and they deserve to have this experience as much as anyone else deserves to have this experience.
Wow, that's nice, because usually what's happening a lot, bartenders and mostly waiters are judging people according to how much they spend, how much they order. So I saw this a lot, and I think in all the countries it's happening a lot. If he's buying just a Coke, you're like, oh, here you go.
Exactly, because people are not realizing what they're selling. Like, you're not selling the Coke, you're selling the experience. That's what you're selling. You're selling the memory. The Coke
exactly. Yeah. And when we understand this, we are changing from a service-based industry to an experience-based industry.
Exactly. It's one thing Tom Bullitt always told me. He said, he told me it's not the drinks industry; it's a relationship industry.
Nice, very nice.
Building those relationships. So yeah, it's and I've also I've made drinks for Obama.
For
Obama, he was a president some time back. Probably don't know.
The guy from America. Yeah. I heard about him.
Guy before they got the douchebag. So and having I didn't get to talk to him, unfortunately, but and having a huge range of customers taught me how to change how I talk to people, depending on who I'm talking to. So if you're talking to young teenage girls, or you have to talk very differently to how you talk to a 60-year-old CEO. So being able to kind of moderate your conversation style according to the person that you're talking to.
That's good. That's nice. Yeah.
Pretty undervalued skill in hospitality.
So you learned a lot from the hospitality industry. I mean, you also travel. You combine this with traveling from learning from cultures and hospitality from other cultures, which sounds great.
Yeah. So I've experienced lots of different cultures. The only continent I haven't been to is Antarctica, so I need to go to the bar at the Antarctic Research Station.
Near the penguins. Mojito without ice, please. There's plenty of ice here.
Put my own ice.
From the jacket. And from the big lessons that you learn, what advice can you give to the people who are listening in order to help them to offer remarkable or memorable experiences to their guests? What's that thing that they can
Yeah.
do?
Uh,
You've been memorable for me.
trying to think of a funny answer, but I can't.
You can't be funny all the time.
Funny never.
You've been memorable for me for that simple thing of standing on a chair all the
Yeah.
training, or for jokes. How do you have a secret recipe to create these memorable
No,
scenarios?
I think for me one of the saddest things about getting older is that you lose the joy and playfulness of being a child.
Mm.
When we're children, we find joy in everything. We can find joy in cardboard boxes. We can find joy in standing on chairs and sliding on the floor and running around. And then as we get older, we we lose a lot of that joy. We lose the ability to find wonder in everyday things. So I think that reconnecting with that and not being afraid to be a bit silly at times, um, if it makes other people happy, because it's fun and it makes me happy and it makes other people laugh and smile and happy. I think that's really important.
There is a nice quote that I like a lot, and I'm using in the last period. It says that it's hard not to feel happy when you make someone smile, as you said. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just that aspect of smiling brings not only other people joy, it brings yourself joy too.
Yeah, and the first victim is yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's putting the phone down and finding that wonder again in things. Whatever it
Oh,
could be, and
how I
whatever it
like
could be.
how I like this. How I like this because I saw it and many people losing the wonder. I mean, everything it's okay. It's not amaze me, and nothing amazed me anymore. Nothing impressed me anymore. So you are taking that path of being unimpressed.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it seems almost cool to be unimpressed with things. It's I see it. There's a Facebook group with the LBA, the London Bartenders Association, and it's a very important Facebook group for the community in London. But I see all too often like young bartenders coming on there, very excited and full of that wonder. They're maybe 19, 18, 19, excited in the industry, asking questions. And then I see the older part, like the experience, the kind of stalwarts who have been around the block a bit, kind of just shitting on them or laughing at them or taking the piss out of them. And it's like these people are excited for exactly the same reason you were excited when you were a young bartender. So why are you like doing this? Why are we not embracing them and building their excitement and carrying it on?
And that's strange because I had a Facebook group with Romanian bartenders. We were like 2000 at some point, and this was what happened a lot. The new bartenders came and tried to post, and the older bartenders were pissing on them, and I was so frustrated about this because I didn't know why. Why is the ego of the bartender so big?
I don't think it's just bartenders. I think it's a human nature thing. If you look at the way that generations are treated, so every generation mocks every other generation. So particularly it kind of goes down the scale. So baby boomers will mock Gen X, who will mock Gen Y, who will mock Gen Z, who will mock Gen millennials. Um, and it's yet everyone who's old in baby boomers wants to be a millennial because they all want their youth back. So maybe it's like this kind of just a little bit of bitterness of going like, I'm fucking old. I want to be young, so I'm gonna hate the young people. They don't know how good they've got it.
they,
Like,
they they do not appreciate what they have. If I would have what they are having now, if I had in that my time what they are having now,
but the
yeah.
truth is that the young people today, the millennials and even younger, they are the worst off generation. they are the poorest generation that we can imagine, because not only are they, my generation was the first generation to be poorer than the previous one, and this has carried on. So not only is it the hardest time for a long time for them to find jobs, to build a career, to build a stable family, to own a house, all the things that my parents took for granted. Like, my parents owned a house at 20, and when I was born, they had I had a house and 2 cars, maybe 3 cars, and had all this at 25. And today, and they were just a normal family. There wasn't like some sort of, they weren't born to millionaires. But today it's a real struggle for young people. And not only that, they're also the ones who are facing this environmental catastrophe that's happening. And they're the ones that are going to have to spend their entire grown lives living through. And
they will pay the price.
Yeah, they'll pay the price of my father's generation, my generation, and all the shit that we've done to the planet. Because it's easy to look back and blame the distant past. Like, oh, this all started in the Victorian times, and it's the Victorians that did this. Almost all of the emissions that we have today have been released in the last 30 years.
So we are the ones who did it. We cannot blame the.
So it's so we should flip on its head. The young people of today are the ones who are the most vulnerable. They're the ones that we should be helping to fix the mess that we created.
Nice.
I shall get off my soapbox now and stop ranting about. Ask me a silly question.
Less silly question. The silliest question that I can ask is, can you tell us a secret about you that not many people know? Because we are at Hospitality Secrets. Something that you didn't tell to many people. Can be silly, can be serious.
So many.
You don't need to share them all. I mean, you can share just one or two.
Should we do a silly one?
It's up to you. It's okay. I'm okay with silly one. You already shared a few like secrets that not too many people knows about you.
So when I won the Appleton Estates competition and went to Jamaica on a trip. It was an amazing trip. But at the end of it was very drunk. But at the end of the trip, near the end of the trip, they moved us to a resort on the eastern side of Jamaica called Hedonism 2. So the East Coast is full of resorts. So Hedonism 2 is the sex resort.
Oh.
So they put the four bartenders up in the sex resort. So one half of the resort you're allowed to wear clothes, and the other half of the resort you have to be butt naked.
Wow, where is that? Can you give me the address?
I had a girlfriend at the time, and she got quite annoyed that we were staying here, because in her mind it's full of like beautiful people having orgies all of the time. And then when you get there, you realize what it really is very respectable people from America, the UK, and Germany, like doctors and teachers who live lives where they're judged on everything they do. They come to this place maybe once a year and just get butt naked and fuck everything with no judgment and no one telling the story when they get back home. So you've got lots of old fat people just having sex everywhere. So we got to stay there, and obviously like 4 young bartenders from New Zealand.
So you had sex with fat?
Everyone's like fresh meat. But one of the things that we had to do was, so they had a nightclub that was attached to a swimming pool. So in the nightclub, you had windows that looked into the swimming pool. So one of the challenges was on a Saturday night when the club is full, you had to take all your clothes off, jump in the swimming pool, and then swim down past to the window and press your butt against the window and swim back up and not get caught.
So that was a nice prize. Oh,
Yes,
competitions are not offering that kind of prize anymore. I don't know what's happening.
that was a crazy trip. I wouldn't recommend. The last night, yeah, I'm surprised I didn't get alcohol poisoning from that trip. I can't recommend it.
Wow, wow, wow. So, Tim, we're 1 hour already.
Amazing. I can. Should we carry on?
Yeah, we can carry on. I will stop the recording and we can carry on. I want to thank you for accepting this invitation. I'm really grateful that you came to share a few thoughts with us.
Oh,
I
it's a
hope.
pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's I've been to Romania enough times that I have a very soft spot in my heart for Romania and for its bartenders.
So maybe we'll meet again after all the restrictions are over. For sure, we will.
Yeah, there's no maybe about it for sure.
Yeah. When they will stop the restrictions. So,
Soon,
Tim,
soon. We're going to be positive for 2021. It's going to be a good year.
for sure, for sure. If it won't be good, we will make it good. So I have no
Exactly.
doubt.
It's it's that old kind of stoic philosophy of control the controllables. You know, if you can't control something such as the coronavirus, then what you can control is your response to it.
Yeah,
And life is full of challenges. You know, you will go throughout your entire life with challenges placed in your way that you have to overcome, and this is just another one of those challenges. So
super.
think about it when you can tell your grandkids how you got through the plague.
I survived. I will tell my son. I will tell Dominic after a few years. I survived the plague. It was hard, but
It was hard, but you know, there's learning and there's opportunity and there's happy moments to be found even in the most difficult of times. You know, even in the middle of World War II, the Germans and British soldiers came out to play football on Christmas Day and found a little bit of magic and happiness in the middle of a world war. So there's always an opportunity.
thank you very much for the words. Very, very inspiring. That's why I invited you. You are an inspiration. Thank you very much, Tim, for being a guest in this podcast.
It's been my pleasure. And if you ever need anyone else to fill some time, please ask me back. I'll come and join.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk in a few episodes. We'll see. We'll see. I'm thinking about doing some special series of this podcast, but now I'm systemizing this way of doing it, and then we'll see. So, Tim, thank you very much for staying. As for the listeners, thank you also for being together with us and hearing Tim Judge and his backstory and his lessons and what he shared. So if you like this, you can subscribe on all the platforms that you can think of, from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor. So you can find this podcast everywhere and subscribe, because we will come every single week with a new guest, with some new stories and with some new lessons from the hospitality industry. That's it for today. I hope it was useful. Paul Sfurlia here. Thank you very much for staying with us. Cheers.